Oh, that was Penny lyric. And I want to talk about the nostalgia in the song lyrics.
Topic. The nostalgic vision I love how he says meanwhile back. It's like he's telling us, okay, I'm sitting here dreaming, now let's jump back into the movie of my childhood. It really fits that Alice in Wonderland feeling of jumping between different worlds.
So, meanwhile back. This works as some cut in the some movie cut, like changing the scene. And also, let's analyze the chorus.
The line, Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes the feeling. This is pure nostalgia. It's not just a memory. It's a sensory experience. The sounds and sights of his hometown are so strong, they feel like they are physically part of him. It's the old memory and fun times held deep in the heart.
So Penny Lane in my eyes. This is really like hometown, pure nostalgia. And move on to next one. There'll be some blue suburban sky.
The line, there beneath the blue suburban skies the feeling. This represents the open sky of childhood. It feels free, hopeful, and endless. In a 1960s suburb, a clear blue sky meant a world of possibility and a bright future. It's the Wonderland version of Liverpool, clean, bright, and full of hope.
Really nice. Really hopeful. And me right back. And changing the scene. There be a blue suburban sky. I really like the lines, the lyric, and also the lyric and the melody. And move on to next topic.
Topic. The meanwhile back mystery, the line. I sit and meanwhile back. The feeling. This is a classic storytelling trick. The young boy is sitting still, perhaps on a bus or a bench, getting lost in his own mind.
So, this is mysterious things about the line meanwhile back, and that's a scene change.
The meaning. Meanwhile back is a phrase used in old movies and comic books to jump between different scenes. By using it here, Paul is acting like a director. He is sitting in the present, but his mind is cutting back to the meanwhile the busy, strange world of the barber and the banker. The reveal. It shows that he is both inside the memory and watching it like a movie at the same time.
So it can be your interpretation. There's no right answer. Who is sitting there and he actually sitting there and watching things happening, or it can be jumping like Alice in Wonderland fantasy things, or you can have your own interpretation about this part. I sit and meanwhile back. So this is a really mysterious things.
The phrase meanwhile back, I think, meanwhile back is the key. It's like he has a remote control for his memories. He can just sit there and click between the barber, the fireman, and the nurse whenever he wants.
So how do you think? This is really tricky, or can be interpreted in many ways. So of course it's up to you how you feel about this. And I think this is something really interesting. There's some space to interpret about the song. And move on to next thing.
Topic: Paul at the bus. Stop the scene. Paul is sitting at the bus shelter in the middle of the roundabout. He is a young boy, waiting for his bus, looking out at the world.
And I think I interpret in two ways. And interpretation 1.
Interpretation 1. The director's cut, he is dreaming meanwhile. Back is a film term. In this view, Paul is sitting still, but his mind cuts back to different scenes. He isn't seeing them right now. He is dreaming about them. The barber and the banker are characters in his head, and he is the director of his own memory.
So it can be it can be your own interpretation about that. How do you think about that? And interpretation 2.
Interpretation 2. The magic telescope he is observing in this view. Paul is sitting in the center of the roundabout, and the whole world is moving around him like a stage. He is watching the real barber across the street and the real banker at the bus stop. But because he has the eyes of a child, he sees them as magical, strange characters instead of just boring adults.
And Paul at the bus stop in the Wonderland.
Paul at the bus. Stop in Wonderland. He's just a kid on a bench, but in his mind, he's the center of the universe. While he's sitting there, The whole Wonderland of Penny Lane is performing a show just for him.
So it's like the on the Wonderland and roundabout. I feel the similar thing sound.
Topic. Paul at the bus stop the scene. Paul isn't looking back from the future. He is right there. A young boy sitting at the bus shelter in the middle of the Penny Lane roundabout. The feeling. When he says I sit, he is physically sitting beneath that bright blue sky, waiting for his bus. To a child, waiting for a bus can feel like an eternity. To pass the time, he starts to observe every little detail of the street around him.
And next, the meanwhile back topic.
The meanwhile back trick. Because he is sitting still, the rest of the world feels like it is moving around him. He looks left. Meanwhile back. There is the barber showing his photographs. He looks right. Meanwhile back, there is the banker standing in the rain.
So, meanwhile back, there's the barber showing his photographs. And also on this side, banker standing in the rain. I think that he's using meanwhile back in a really great way of the creating song shift into next scene. This is really great.
The creative idea. This is a brilliant way to write a song. You take a stationary character, the boy on the bench, and use him as the anchor. While he sits still, he uses his eyes like a movie camera, cutting to different scenes happening simultaneously in his hometown. It connects the 0 to 1 idea, perfecting a simple, real moment of waiting for a bus to launch a whole world of storytelling.
So this is like really great way of constructing idea really clearly. This boy and his main character and watching the barber and banker and nurse and these things. And from the boy's point of view, we see the Penny Lane world. And on the boy's point of view, this is something awkward, very strange, and mysterious fantasy world. And next is a creativity on the song.
Creativity on the song, it's not just a memory as a kid with magic eyes turning a boring bus stop into the most interesting place on earth. It makes the whole song feel so much more alive.
This is really nice. It is just a local place, but from Paul and John Lennon's lyric, it makes a really nice.
Topic. Paul at the bus stop in Wonderland, the scene. Paul is a young boy sitting at the bus shelter in the middle of the Penny Lane roundabout. To anyone else, it's just a boring wait for the bus. But to Paul, he is sitting in the center of a wonderland.
And next is a perspective.
The perspective. When he says I sit, he's the anchor of the whole story. While he stays still, the world around him becomes a stage. He uses his eyes like a movie camera to cut to different scenes happening all at once.
So meanwhile back, Barber, meanwhile back, nurse, or bunker. Really nice structure of the story music. So next is meanwhile back magic.
The meanwhile back magic. This is how he connects the different parts of his town. Meanwhile back, the barber is showing his photos. Meanwhile back, the banker is standing in the rain. He isn't remembering these things from years later. He is watching them happen right now from his seat at the bus stop.
So this is really great way of connecting these things. Just keep using the meanwhile back. Same words.
The creative lesson. This is a brilliant 0 to 1 songwriting idea. You take a very simple, real-life moment waiting for a bus and you use your imagination to turn the people across the street into surreal characters. It's the perfect blend of a nostalgic hometown and an Alice in Wonderland fantasy.
So it starts from some barber, banker, ordinary. They are in everywhere on the earth. So on your hometown, you see them, but slightly change some spice and twist. It becomes to Alice in Wonderland, little by little. That's really creative. So let's move on to summary. So far.
Summary. The lesson of Penny Lane. So, what is the ultimate lesson of Penny Lane? It shows us that the mix of nostalgia and Wonderland fantasy is a powerful way to create something new. Paul didn't just write about a street. He wrote about how a street feels when you are a child with a wild imagination. By connecting a real location with a fantasy wonderland and using key changes to guide the listener's emotions, he created a masterpiece of psychedelic nostalgia. This 0 to 1 idea shows us that great songwriting is about perspective. The next time you are sitting at a bus stop or walking through your own hometown, try to look at it like Paul did. Look for the very strange details and imagine the play happening all around you. That's where the most creative ideas are born.
So the hometown nostalgia is really usual and common song idea. But from that, he mixed with nostalgic and some fantasy or psychedelic things and into one, and that makes it start catchy, nostalgic, usual things, nostalgia. But little by little shift into fantasy or psychedelic or something very strange. And on the end, move to bright side. Maybe some happy ending. And the higher trumpet for the dreamy heavenly. And the trumpet was only used for religious things on the some era, and so really heavenly. And this Penny Lane's piccolo trumpet, really high pitch instrument, and Paul and his their band producer sees on TV the Bach's song, and Bach's song is many religious and heavenly phrase and sound or tone of instrument. So makes heavily at the end. So at first into the nostalgic Wonderland and some strange fantasy, but at the end move to heaven. So this is really creative, shifting into maybe hometown, his own memory and fantasy, like Alice in Wonderland, and Bach like heavenly world at the end. So 3 steps. That's really nice, catchy and mysterious and heavenly. Really interesting. So that was Penny Lane. So the lyric is really interesting.
Penny Lane Lennon McCartney, in Penny Lane. There is a barber showing photographs of every head he's had the pleasure to know. And all the people that come and go stop and say hello. On the corner is a banker with a motor car. The little children laugh at him behind his back. And the banker never wears a mac in the pouring rain. Very strange. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. There beneath the blue suburban skies I sit. And meanwhile, back in Penny Lane, there is a fireman with an hourglass, and in his pocket is a portrait of the Queen. He likes to keep his fire engine clean. It's a clean machine. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. 4 of fish and finger pies in summer, meanwhile, back behind the shelter in the middle of the roundabout. The pretty nurse is selling poppies from a tray, and though she feels as if she's in a play, she is anyway. Penny Lane, the barber shaves another customer. We see the banker sitting waiting for a trim. Then the fireman rushes in from the pouring rain. Very strange. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. There beneath the blue suburban skies I sit. And meanwhile back, Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. There beneath the blue suburban skies. Penny Lane.
This is really different.
Penny Lane Lennon McCartney, in Penny Lane. There is a barber showing photographs of every head he's had the pleasure to know. And all the people that come and go stop and say hello. On the corner is a banker with a motor car. The little children laugh at him behind his back. And the banker never wears a mac in the pouring rain. Very strange. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. There beneath the blue suburban skies I sit. And meanwhile, back in Penny Lane, There is a fireman with an hourglass, and in his pocket is a portrait of the Queen. He likes to keep his fire engine clean. It's a clean machine. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. 4 fish and finger pies in summer, meanwhile, back behind the shelter in the middle of the roundabout. The pretty nurse is selling poppies from a tray, and though she feels as if she's in a play, she is anyway. Penny Lane, the barber shaves another customer. We see the banker sitting waiting for a trim. Then the fireman rushes in from the pouring rain. Very strange. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. There beneath the blue suburban skies I sit. And meanwhile back, Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. There beneath the blue suburban skies. Penny Lane.
So it's nice to read the lyric. It makes feel differently. It's really fun to read and listen the song Penny Lane. It was really fun. Really nice. Hit the like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.